welcome. Please grab a tankard of your favorite ale, some dice, pen, pencil, paper, have a seat, and get ready to roll some persuasion checks because this is a Chaotic Neutrals podcast where we let chaos reign. I'm Matt, and this is...
Annie Mae. How are you guys?
And today we are going to talk about some of our favorite race and class combinations. Would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. Why not? So, races and class and combinations. They're an interesting little topic, aren't they?
Very.
So many people like to center their class and race around what they think is most fitting for each other, i.e., orc barbarians or orc fighters or tiefling tiefling rogues or tiefling sorcerers. But for me, that's not how class race works. Class is really the last thing you should decide on for me, unless you're just really stuck in a rut and can't decide what your character should be. So for me, I typically go with my race first. And I have to say my favorite race, I don't know if how well this can count as a race, but I think my favorite race to play as is the custom lineage race.
Oh, the new custom lineage thing, yeah.
Yeah, from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, because that one is just... It gives you so much variety. You can say, like, do you want to play a humanoid ostrich person? Go right ahead. You want to play a humanoid slime? Absolutely. I've created characters with both of those, so you can see the
I
possibilities are already opened up with that one race alone.
virtually endless. I haven't had a chance to play around with custom lineage yet. I wasn't sure what exactly all it was about yet. I need to look it up and do some reading and stuff.
It's very vague on the rules. It's basically, what do you want? Basically, if you want to play anything, just try to find the right size, because you can have either medium or small. You can go with choose whichever size you want. Out of those two, you can choose. I believe it's 2 ability score improvements, either in the same 2 points into the same stat, or 1 and 2 different others. You know. But either way, you have that variety. It's literally any of the 6 stats you want, and then you also get a feat. So,
nice.
I know, like, having a feat immediately opens up so many doors, and actually with the slime that I created, the slime person, I specifically went with the grappler feat. I always go with the grappler feat for whenever I'm trying to play a slime character, because slimes have really good grappling capabilities.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
And then when I went with, like, I said ostrich earlier, I meant roadrunner, but whenever I created that roadrunner character, I went with the mobile feat, because, roadrunners are known for being incredibly fast. Zip bang. So, of course, I went with the mobile feat.
Nice.
But how do you express that creativity within a class? Classes are very stiff and stagnant in a way. Yes, they have they do have some choices, but ultimately it's basically, what are your starting proficiencies and what's your subclass. That's basically it. So I try to go with something that has the most variety, and of course it has to be the one that just lets you do the most with your abilities. Not Monk. Yes, Monk lets you do a lot with your chi points, but that's not quite the same. You almost always get the same chi skills or chi abilities,
Mm-hmm.
Sorcerer, I mean Warlock, yeah, kinda. But I don't think I've ever played a Warlock, actually. I've never played a Warlock. I
Uh,
should. I really
Cal-
should. That's my.
Caldor was my first warlock.
Yeah, I think my.
Caldor was my first ever warlock. I don't usually play magic casters that much because
Mm,
it's a lot of stuff to keep track of, especially the meta magic, and
hmm
I'm also playing a sorcerer in my other game, so
I see.
first times.
Yeah. But Warlock is, they do get to flavor themselves quite a lot with all their Eldritch invocations. But like I said, I've not played that one before, so I'd still have to figure that out. Maybe that one would be better. I feel like that one could be more fun with the patron as well, because I mean,
Hmm.
I've had to deal with multiple warlocks in my life, in my run of playing Dungeons and Dragons, and those patrons can
Yeah.
get crazy at times. Um,
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
Especially when you have to make your own patron to kind of fit into the world. That's really fun. But the class that I think flavors itself the best to anything is
Hmm.
the sorcerer. Hands down, my favorite class to play because the sorcerer allows for various meta magic choices, and its
Yeah.
spell list is surprisingly diverse.
Hmm.
It's very
It is.
interesting. You wouldn't initially think it, but the fact that the sorcerer doesn't have any one specific type of magic to specialize in, you know, makes it all the
Yeah.
more diverse. Like with that slime character, I've created. He was a sorcerer, and I gave him all acid-based spells and water-based spells because he's
Hmm.
basically he's a slime. He's an ooze.
Exactly.
So of course that's what I went with. And I was able to give him almost a perfect spell list. I've been playing him for a few months now, and that's what I've been playing with. And surprisingly, it works very well. There was another sorcerer that I created who was supposed to basically be as a backup character for him actually, and she was going to be a fallen deity who's been sent down to Earth to live as a mortal in order to understand what her purpose in as a deity is, and
Yeah.
her divine domain is like goddess of the household, like a motherly
Ah.
goddess.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
every spell she has is purely support. She knows how to cook. She has mage hand to act as like a third hand when she's doing various chores and work, household deeds. She has healing word. She has protective spells. All these spells that are just like, oh yeah, I could see that being a mother having that, and that's basically how I run all my characters. I think I said this in the last episode, but for me, the that's how sorcerers are played, and it allows for a surprising amount of versatility and creativity, where everything you are basically, if you want to play a character who has any one intrinsic focus built into them, that's the way to do it. Just grab a sorcerer, just play a sorcerer where that's their whole focus, and then with the custom lineage, you can build whatever the heck you want out of a race. So like that class and race really fit each other very well. They fit
Yes, it definitely sounds like it.
they fit amazingly well. I freaking love it. Every time I want to create I really ought to just go through and create um a bunch of these characters with that race and class combo.
Right.
But that's
I
probably my favorite for me just because of how creative and how diverse it can get.
Um, I haven't really. I have a tendency when I create my characters to do that thing where you choose. I choose what class I want, and then I look at what's their
What's the most fitting race?
base main stat. No, what's their main stat, and then I go up by like the racial bonuses that would fit best with that class.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Like yeah, my sorcerer, I did the charisma based, which
Hmm.
chose a tiefling.
Yeah,
Of
that's what
course, then
everybody
there was
does.
strength. Of course, I wasn't sure. Like I have a fighter I made. I haven't played him yet, but he exists. Um, that's I just chose a variant human just for the fighter because first
Hmm.
character with it. So, but and I with my warlock I chose a changeling also because the charisma and warlocks are charisma based casters. So
Yeah, yeah,
I'm still technically new to D&D. I've been playing it for a few years, but I still don't understand everything.
yeah.
I haven't even bothered touching multi-classing yet, for one thing.
Yeah, same.
But
I've never
I'd have
multi-classed.
to say my favorite class race combination would just be a mountain dwarf paladin.
Oh, gee, I wonder where that came from.
Absolutely, we're back on Tortoise.
Oh, but I mean, there's a good reason for it.
But yeah, I also chose like a Goliath for a monk.
Oh, that makes sense. Sort of. That's definitely something
He
I wouldn't
his
expect, but it
punches
makes
his
sense.
punches did a lot of damage.
I can imagine.
I I I rolled high constantly. I always had good luck with rolls for one, especially creating a new character. If it's like at like anywhere between 6 and 10, at least one of my stats is already at 20. Because usually when I roll my initial sets of stats, they're always high. I've
Hmm.
one time got low rolls. I got below 10 for a couple of the rolls on both sets of rolls that I made, and and it turned out to be an interesting character. It was ages ago though, but I don't remember what it was for, but it was interesting.
Yeah. Huh. You know,
Um,
the whole concept of class race combo is so baffling to me. It's basically because it's
yeah,
always honestly, for me, character building is not focused on your class. It's focused on your background and race. It's basically your class is there to fit everything else.
it's almost
That's what
basically
it is
like
for
just
me.
assigning you a profession.
Yeah,
Your class is almost
no,
like a profession.
but not even. It's basically
Yeah,
the
exactly.
generalization of what your character does and is about. It's the most generalized version. Like, you can have one player who specializes in traveling the world um, to see new monsters and understand various creatures, right?
You
Another
see
player
the
can.
background I'd give the background the oh god what was the far
Oh, the Far Traveler.
something far traveler
Yeah,
that
yeah.
would be a
A-
perfect fit for that
another
character. Anyway,
player
continue.
another player could create a character who's focused on studying the flora of a specific region and
Mhm.
um just learning to
Mhm.
understand all of that. Another player could be focused on making sure all the roads are focused are protected and watched over. Somebody else could be a hunter seeking to track down and kill beasts either to protect somebody or for their own trade. Who knows? But everybody, every single one of those can all be summarized in a ranger.
Yeah.
Literally all of them
Yeah,
are rangers
definitely.
or druids.
Yep.
Ranger,
True, exactly.
druid, you can do either. Now, druids were probably I would probably get a little more mystical about it, but
Yeah.
either
Yeah.
one. or you could say somebody is going to protect their homeland, stay like as a soldier, as a warrior, somebody who stays in their town and never steps down from their wall. I could have just told you that. I could tell you that that's a fighter, and everybody would agree with me. Or I could tell you it's a paladin, and everybody would still agree. Or what
Yeah,
about a barbarian?
yeah,
Same thing.
absolutely,
It's like
absolutely.
the classes are not meant to be a specific role to be met. They are a generalized concept of an entire character, just so that your character has something to start with. But I feel like Dungeons and Dragons is supposed to have broken rules and homebrewed content in order to make things more flavorful. Because there's not a single game that I've played that
Right,
didn't have it, and I can't imagine what it would be like for people who just stick to the rules and are like, oh, you can't do that. That's not part of the game. I'm like, I gotta have my homebrew. I gotta have my homebrew because, like, all of my abilities, all of my unique traits, they don't come from my race. They don't come from my class. They don't come from my background. They don't come from my levels, right? They come
mm-hmm,
from me as and the group just all trying to figure out what would make this character stand out from any other, you know? It's
right,
and I mean, I can understand like, that's what magic items are for and that's what curses are for and all of that. And I'm like, yeah, but if it's still part of the normal rules, I'm still not content. I gotta have at least one unique homebrewed rule that nobody else has ever had, because then it's officially a unique character that nobody else can ever recreate without using that same homebrew, something that is not part of the
right.
base rules.
Yeah, I unfortunately I've never played really any of the modules except for that one time before I had to, drop out from
Yeah,
our Monday games was oh boy,
Tomb of
why
Annihilation.
am I blanking? Yeah, Tomb of Annihilation. We didn't get very far before I had to go, but
Yeah.
it's the only module I've technically played. If you want to say that. But otherwise, I've never played any of the modules. I always hear all about them, but I prefer the homebrew world that the DM creates and designs themselves
Me
with
too.
it. They put a lot of time and effort into it.
I,
I know. I'm sure Wizards of the Coast do too with their modules, for D&D. But I like the personal homebrew touches
mhm.
that the DM gives.
Yeah, same. It's it's not as fun seeing a world that's already been pre-built, I mean, I can imagine it'd probably be fun to run through Barovia and storm Castle Ravenloft with somebody who knows the world inside out. That's why I really want to do it with
Right.
Darren after I honestly want to do it after either this campaign is over or after we finish the one with Thordis. But
Yeah.
um,
I'd like to go. I'd like to join either that Strad, or I'd definitely would like to go back to Thordis. I miss playing Thordis.
yeah, Curse of Strahd and going back to Thordis. Those are basically the two things that I want right now. Everything else,
Hmm.
I'm like, you got to give me a new homebrewed world if I'm gonna play with you because
I mean,
playing through
even if
Tomb
I
of
don't
Annihilation.
technically initially play Thordis, I would like to even
Revisit.
if I could keep Thordis. If we go back to playing that, if we keep Thordis, he'd probably, with all the things that happened in the past, he might, I might almost keep him like semi partially retired, but he'd
Ah,
go out and join a group if he'd had to.
yeah.
If they really needed the help, he's all for helping any and all other adventurers that
Hmm.
come through. I'd like to do that and choose a new character just to go with as well.
Ah, yeah. But for me, playing through Tomb of Annihilation felt very boring and stagnant and
Mhm.
uninteresting, and that might have been
Mhm.
partially because Tomb of Annihilation is very combat heavy. It's meant to be.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for me, Tomb of Annihilation wasn't fun. Even though
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily fun being all evil either, because
no,
that
that was
doesn't
not
always
fun either.
work at
I
all.
actually tried to bring that back, and it was a bad idea. Very bad idea.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, homebrew is really the way to, at least for me, and for many people, the way to play Dungeons and Dragons. It's not as fun whenever you've got all this pre-made stuff, because it's not. It's just running through the same thing over and over again, right? Um,
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the appeal of Dungeons and Dragons. Really, is the
Hmm.
unexpectedness of the uniqueness of your encounters. It's why people love to play through modules multiple times, because no two adventures is the same, because you never have the same party. Even if you do have the same party, it can
Exactly.
still be totally different.
Oh yeah, you
You
could
know, you
always take a
can.
different path, go different down a different way. You go. Oh my God, English is hard. Anyway, it's like you could take this road to the right when you took the road to the left last time.
Hmm.
See where that route goes, and then that could branch off into an entirely different section
Or if you
that
tried to
you didn't know existed right away.
or if you tried to retread old steps, you could still fail
Oh
fail
yeah,
one roll that you succeeded on previously, or succeed on one that you failed before. And either way, it could completely change the campaign. Then you would,
yeah. You gotta definitely have the Dungeons and Dragons deities on your side before you could ever like perfectly retrace your steps.
yep, yep,
The
and
D and Dice gods are not kind.
that's what Dungeons and Dragons is built on, and that's why I feel that's why I feel like homebrew is the way to go. That's why I feel like classes are not as interesting without homebrew. And to bring it all back, that's why I think class race combos, specific, like that meant to fit each other. You know, it's not that important. Class race combo is not important.
Great.
Because I mean, just like at the end of Joe Cat's races video, a crap guide to
Hmm.
races, you know, he says, and just remember that class race importance is pretty seldom. Make whatever you fancy. Make a chubby fighter dancy. Now you know how to play parts. Now you know how to pick your race. You're welcome, and that's exactly what it is.
Right.
Make it make it chubby fighter dancy. I don't care. It's fun. I mean, it's like
The
I don't know.
creativity and possibilities are almost endless.
Yeah, it really is. Uh, you know, the beginning of his video makes a great point. Actually, um, he says something about a talking tree, and I'm like, there are no
Hmm.
plant races in that are playable in Dungeons and Dragons. No playable plant races, as far as I'm aware, anyway.
To play a tree person would be amazing.
I
An
know.
ent.
Like, consider the fact that you'd probably have a negative to your dex, but a plus to your
Probably because you're a big
con.
lumbering tree.
Yeah, but you'd have a plus to your con and a plus to your strength.
Could you just imagine walking into
Well,
a medieval style town with a tree person following you in a group? Like,
I know,
how
right?
would everybody react?
Or I'm imagining probably your secondary plus would depend on your sub race, because imagine that if you had a tree race, you could have ash, you could have oak, you could have maple, you know, willow. You could have all of these different races that are just based off of just all of
It,
these different types of trees, and I'm like, that would be so fun to see.
I just got a thing in my chat.
I see it.
It says
I
I
am
am
Groot.
Groot.
Yes.
Could I'd straight up make Groot if I could play an ent.
Yes. I wanna do that now. Now I gotta homebrew a tree race, or I gotta find one. There's probably one already made.
Probably, probably homebrewed.
So,
Uh,
speaking of
I've come
homebrewed
across a few things
races,
that are slightly. Yes.
speaking of homebrewed races, don't tell the rest of the group because this is a little bit of a surprise. But I do actually have a humanoid insect race homebrewed up for the campaign. I haven't let anybody play it because I can't explain away. It would be impossible to explain away why these humanoid insects are betraying their people and befriending the everybody else.
Yeah, that'd be a
But
hard one.
it would still, plus there are a bunch of other reasons why it would not work, but I have homebrewed it up, and it's actually very fun and interesting looking through them. I've actually test playing it in another campaign that I'm in, and I mean, instantly we were given the question, how do we deal with all of these unique traits? Because I realized all the unique traits that I took the flying subrace that I've created, and I connected almost all of my traits to my wings, which are clipped at the beginning of the campaign. I gotta level up a few times to slowly let them grow back.
That makes a lot of sense, and
Yeah,
that sounds like it fit pretty well.
yeah, and so it's kind of like a slow play test where slowly over time I'll regain more and more of my abilities in order to slowly play test it and make sure if it's balanced or not. But on top of that, I realized literally the only two race traits I have other than my ability score improvements is my dark vision and the fact that I actually have weak legs, which has limited my ability to walk. So I only have 25 movement speed.
Oh wow.
But that's the fun part about Dungeons and Dragons. Again, going back to the
Yeah.
whole homebrew thing. I mean, I currently have no way of climbing up or of like doing almost any of my using almost any of my unique racial abilities because I've lost my wings. But I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll slowly get them over time. It's a freshly homebrewed race. I don't know much about them yet. Or I don't know how balanced
Right.
it is. I don't care, and it makes for an interesting story too. Um,
Yeah, it definitely does.
and a fun little thing because he can't fly because he's a flying type bug. I've ruled it that he's never really liked getting in water because bugs actually, when their wings get wet, it hinders their ability to fly because their wings
Mhm.
can't, they get soaked and drenched and like a blanket, they just sag.
Mhm.
And so as a result, my character doesn't know how to swim. And
Yeah, that makes sense.
we're starting out on a boat in the ocean.
Wow.
I know. So it's really fun and hilarious, um, including such homebrew abilities. Because that's what, again, makes the whole experience unique. Aside from, the role play, the interactions with the party, but it makes your character unique. Makes your character's abilities
Right.
unique. And that's why, again, I'm not too keen on the whole idea of, oh, well, this race should go with this class, or this class should only be used with these select races because their ability scores, their ability score improvements fit. I'm like, I'm not sure about that, you know.
Mhm.
And honestly, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like everybody only does the whole class race combination thing,
Mhm.
specific class race combination with ability scores, and I'm like, you do realize your character has other traits, right? Your race
Yeah.
does have other traits. Like, I'm sorry, I understand. Like, what are the racial abilities? Let me pull up D&D Beyond real quick.
Yeah, I opened mine up
Aarakocra,
too because one
game
of
rules,
the
races.
players from one of the other campaigns I was in was a used the custom lineage and did the reborn, and basically it was like a homebrewed, almost like a homebrewed class I've played before called the Soulbound.
Oh yeah, I
But
remember you
in their
playing
case,
that.
they were brought back to life, like by, in his case, he's a paladin of vengeance. So, oh no, not vengeance, what the redemption one or whatever, paladin, and he was brought back to life to redeem himself before he can continue and pass on. And the soulbound is um, a construct basically made through binding a soul to a suit of armor,
Mm,
done through magic means or by a deity.
yeah. Huh. That's interesting. But yeah, I just looked it up. Aarakocra, they have their oh shoot, I should. I'm on Do Not Disturb now on Discord. I just got a ping. Uh,
Oh, yeah,
but they have a
that was
dex.
my fault.
They have a dex score increase and a wisdom score increase. Aarakocra do. So I'm thinking like,
Hmm.
what races would or what classes would people say to play with that? Well, naturally ranger. They'd probably also say druid, you know?
Hmm.
But then there would also be people who would say like, "Oh, rogue would work beautifully for that because of the +2 dex." And I'd be like, "I'm sorry. You're a giant bird with giant wings. You have talons on your feet, so you can't wear shoes.
Hmm. Hmm.
And your feathers are going to be falling off constantly. How does that fit a
Yeah,
rogue?" I'm like,
that's
no. And I would say, like, I mean, absolutely go for it if you really want to try. But I'm thinking to myself, like, here, I'm not thinking purely ability score improvements. I'm thinking everything, right? You know? And on top of that, like, uh, sure, an Aarakocra Druid would work great, but imagine the Ranger. Like I'm thinking
that would be interesting.
every time I play in our Aarakocra, I would want to play a Ranger because Dex plus a Dex 2 increase and a +1 to Wisdom. That's
Hmm.
good enough. But then on top of that, you have Flight and you have a natural weapon. You know?
Hmm.
Like having those, flight allows you to get so far, travel so far, see the area so much better. You are an amazing ranger at that point. You know, you can cover so
Exactly.
much ground, and the talents, like if you need to quickly make an attack but you don't have the time to draw a weapon, who cares? Just slash them, right?
Exactly. Use your talons.
Yeah.
What a natural weapons are for.
Or like consider like let's just look through the list of races real quick. What's a good race to just look over? Tabaxi. Tabaxi's a fun one.
Uh, I haven't even tried yet, but I've with people trying them, I've seen it.
They've got a +2 to Dex and a +1 to Charisma. So of course I'm thinking, oh yeah, you definitely would want to play a Ranger with them. But like,
Hmm.
what could you pick that would be oddball um for a Tabaxi, but still technically feel like it fit perfectly? Like, let's see their abilities. They have they have dark vision. They have their
Feline.
feline agility. Cat's claws again, another great natural weapon. They have their cat's talents,
Cat.
proficiency
That
in
gives them
perception and
proficiency.
stealth. So,
Hmm.
like, thinking about that, and I mean, immediately my mind thinks, oh, that would make a great ranger. And of course, the monk. And yeah, pretty good druid, but hold on, what about a fighter? Because, like, when you think about it,
That
like,
that
fighters,
agility, that feeling agility would definitely help.
I know, right? Or, I mean, hear me out. A paladin? Because you, like, consider this feline agility. You're staying in the back of the pack in order to protect the players, right? In order to
Yeah.
protect everybody's back. You have dark vision, so you don't need a torch, which is already great. You have the feline agility, but then if you're in the back of the pack, all of a sudden, everybody's attacked from the front. Well, feline agility just says, no, you, and run straight to the front of the pack. You know? Instantly. Done.
Mm-hmm.
And it says once you use this trait, you can't use it again until you move 0 feet on one of your turns. No
Basically,
problem.
I'm assuming
No
you
problem.
you just stand there, you don't move. Yeah,
Yeah, the moment you're up there, well, I don't care. I don't have to move anymore because I'm the tank. I'm the
I'm in
guy.
range.
Yeah, I don't need to move anymore. So I'm gonna get this back on the next turn or after my next turn. So
Exactly.
it's like Tabaxi works great for a paladin, but nobody talks about that because Dex and charisma. I mean, paladins do have the
Yeah.
are charisma based, so of course the charisma would help. But like Dex +2,
Yeah.
nobody really talks about that.
Yeah. Right.
Like everybody's focused on that, so they're thinking monk and rogue, and I'm like, paladin.
Right. Uh.
Now I gotta create that
Right.
a paladin monk
Tabaxi.
or paladin tabaxi. That's what I
One race I want to try playing at some point is the Loxodon. Just a big elephant. It's a bipedal elephant, and it's amazing.
I've barely looked into them, and I'm like, that could be interesting.
+2 to its con, +1 to wisdom. It's got powerful build, Loxodon Serenity, natural armor, trunk because it's an elephant, and keen smell. Powerful build, of course, allows you to carry, lift, and push, drag anything up to one size larger than
Yeah,
what,
which are they?
and yeah.
Are they large? Are they category large? I can't
Let
speak.
me look. Let me go to
I
the
have the book,
details
but
page.
it's out in my trailer right now, so and
Um,
I don't own the book on D&D Beyond, so
I got it through content sharing through a campaign on here.
I see.
7 and 8 feet tall. Size is still medium,
Yep,
but
barely.
I've heard size classifications. Anything like 8 feet tall and up should be dang near large at that point.
Yeah, it is near it.
But with being at 8 feet, you're just still medium.
Barely.
But 7 to 8 feet tall is up there with a Goliath.
Yes. So
300 to 400 pounds. They got their powerful build, natural armor, locks on Serenity. You have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened.
nice.
Plus natural armor, 12 plus your con mod. For,
I realized I could just
yeah,
pull up.
when you aren't wearing. Wow, it's 12 plus your constitution modifier for their natural armor when you're not wearing armor.
I realized I could just pull up 5e tools.
Right.
Oh.
They got their trunk, which you can use to grasp things. You can use it as a snorkel. It's got a 5 foot reach and can lift a number of pounds equal to 5 times your strength score.
Imagine that. That's
Your
like
trunk
that could
can't
be like
wield a
25
weapon,
pounds.
right? Unfortunately, your trunk cannot wield a weapon or a shield,
Yeah,
or
it
do
wouldn't
something
be
that
that
requires manual
efficient.
precision. I mean, it'd be hilarious to see a shield in one hand, a sword in the other, and another sword in the trunk.
No, 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 no. Hear me out. If you can hold a 25-pound item, I would expect you should be able. I think this is right. You should be able to hold a long sword or a great sword with no trouble. Meaning, you don't need two hands. You can just hold a shield in either hand. Meaning, you get +4.
And swing the sword around like a wrecking ball. That's amazing.
I know that was actually something that I had to deal with my homebrewed insect race, where one of them had 4 sets of arms, or had 2 sets of arms, right? 4 arms total.
Hmm.
Um, I realized that if with one of those sets you could have um, a great sword and in the other two hands you could have a shield in both, one in each. So it's like
Yeah.
that could be a little broken.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Um,
But yeah, a
there's another
Loxodon
thing I was gonna mention. I completely forgot. Anyway, continue.
Loxodon +2 to Constitution, +1 to Wisdom. You know, it's a meme to make barbarians, to force barbarians to make Wisdom and Intelligence saves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, consider a Loxodon barbarian,
Ooh.
and you have
Yeah.
advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened.
Uh-huh. Yep, definitely. I can see it now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, come on, Loxodon barbarian. If nobody has thought of this, I am very upset.
Right?
Minotaur.
Minotaur, that'd be interesting.
What is this normal size of a Minotaur?
I am going to look.
5'4". Interesting. I thought that would be bigger.
That seems awfully short. Minotaurs. From what I see in the D&D Beyond, Minotaurs average over 6 feet in height. And they have stocky builds. Your size is medium.
Okay, 5e tools, you lie to me.
Yeah, I got all the races, including their playtest content. Races like the rabbit folk stuff, the
I did,
hair and gone.
I did see that. Like what? Where is it?
Yep, there's a rabbit folk.
Yeah, that is weird. Harengon, and then the fairy. Like, yes,
Oh
please.
yeah, the fairy. Forgot about that.
Hold on, let me find a. Let me see the fairy
One
real quick.
character I tried to play that was kind of awkward to play is the Kenku, being only able to repeat what you've heard to try to communicate because you don't actually speak.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I actually had my younger sister when we were playing, or
Hmm.
when I was DMing a campaign with her in there. She was playing an Aarakocra who had wings but was raised by Kenku. So
Who don't have wings and don't fly.
and mimic speech. So her
Ooh,
Aarakocra was actually mimicking speech, and
that's kind of an interesting
wasn't
concept for an
flying
Aarakocra.
because didn't know they didn't know that they were an Aarakocra. They thought they were
Kenku.
yeah, they thought they were a
And
Kenku.
couldn't fly. That's interesting.
They
One of the
also were
races.
very confused when they couldn't properly mimic voices, and so they would get basic accents and maybe kind of hit on the voices, but
Oh, interesting.
they still had a bass voice in there the whole time, so they were a little confused. That campaign didn't get
Right?
very far, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It sounded interesting.
Oh, it sounds very interesting. I would love to explore the concept myself.
There's one race that I've never seen people play or heard people play is the Gith.
The Gith are weird. Gith are
I
really
know
weird. It's like they live
they
in the
were. It looks like
astral
they were
plane.
minds. It. I like their title. The little snippet of what it says. As long ago, the Gith rose up to overthrow the mind flayers that held them in servitude, but two factions arose that remained bitter enemies. There's
Huh.
the Githyanki and the Githzerai.
Githzerai.
Zeria. Githzerai, yeah. Githzerai. Yeah, which it's just I've never heard or seen anything about the Gith
I
before.
know. They're actually I mean, let's
It's
just
just
look through
a
them real
plus
quick.
one to intelligence.
And then the Gith Yankee
Um,
get a +2, but the Githzerai no, Githyanki get a +2 to
Gets
strength, but the Zerai get +2 to wisdom.
oh yeah. Plus the +1 to intelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not a whole lot about them. There's not
Githyanki tend
their
towards
character
lawful
their
evil.
race
Oh,
details page is pretty short.
that's interesting. Githyanki tends toward lawful evil, but Githzerai tend towards lawful neutral. Interesting.
Interesting. And Githzerai are psionic, so they get mage hand cantrip, and the hand invisible when you cast it. At third level they get the shield spell, and fifth level they get detect thoughts.
Hmm.
The Githyanki psionics is mage hand, of course. Then they get the jump spell and misty step.
Ooh. And then martial prodigy. You're proficient with light and medium armor and with swords, long swords, and great swords. Interesting.
Their spellcasting modifier for the Githyanki are intelligence, based off their intelligence score for those three spells, while the Githzerai is wisdom based.
Oh,
Interesting.
there's a lot of
One's a martial
interest.
prodigy, the other's mental discipline, saving throw advantage in saving throws against charmed and frightened.
An interesting little story that could be interesting. Um, Two players each playing a Gith, but from different tribes, and they basically either have to learn to get along, or they've already learned and are trying to get their people to agree.
Hmm.
That could be interesting.
I've never seen anybody play a centaur either.
That's a weird one. Centaur are very odd.
Hmm. They're very weird.
I don't know what would make a centaur good. What
Do you
class
think
would make they
the
would even be
mounted
good
combat
with?
for you think the mounted combat for a cavalier fighter would work because they're half horse?
I don't think so because the centaur themselves has to control their own body. It's
Yeah,
not like
true,
a horse
true.
is. It's not like mounted. Like a mounted cavalier. They're just dealing with themselves, whereas a well, hold on. Equine body build. You can count as one size larger when determining your carrying capacity. In addition, any climb that requires hands and feet is especially difficult for you. Survivor. I don't actually know because when you really think about it, you can't be a mounted combatant.
True. True.
That's interesting.
It's a good question though.
I would say if I were a DM having to deal with that, I would say you would have had to been specifically trained by someone who is already well versed in mounted combat in order to be
Hmm.
able to even have the feat in the first place. A lot of times we don't
True.
really focus on what the players actually take for their feats, but I would
Well,
say,
the cavalier fighters, one of their fighter
oh, is
subclasses.
it a subclass? Okay.
Yeah.
I
Fighter
would say you have to
subclass.
explain that to me. I would say you
It's got
have to
10.
explain that to me as to how you learned how to be a mounted combatant as a centaur. But if you can explain it to me,
Martial archetype. Yeah, cavalier.
if you can explain it to me, then by all means.
Right. Well, I was looking at the fighters. Cavalier. Archetypal cavalier excels at mounted combat. Usually born among the nobility and raised in a court, cavalier is equally at home leading a cavalry charge. Okay. When you choose this at third level, gain one proficiency in your choice animal handling history. Okay. Born in the saddle. Starting at third level. Your mastery as a writer becomes apparent. Yeah, I think it's an interesting question for debate on whether or not you could be a fighter cavalier as a centaur, but I would assume being like, they're technically cavalry units at that point, and they just sit a little further forward.
Yeah. Hmm.
So you could use that. They're basically when they fight, they're basically cavalry units. They charge and
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah. That's very interesting. And it's that type of thing that gets my gears turning. You know,
Right, and then
not the
you just start going from there.
not the measly ability score improvements. I don't care about that.
Right. Uh, what other ones was there that just seemed really weird to me that I've never really seen anybody play much of?
Satyr.
Simic hybrids. Yeah, the satyr is relatively new. That's playtest content, I think, still. Oh no, that's been added. That's fully added. The satyr is. I think I seen one person play satyr once, and that was in Critical Role
Ah,
in their third campaign. Their little one-off 8 episode thing. Um, Simic hybrids I haven't seen much of.
Simic
What the
hybrids are
hell is
interesting.
a Verdan?
Uh, what?
Vedlocken
Vidalkin.
and Vidalkin, thank you, and a Verdan. Never seen anybody play Yanti Pureblood either.
The
What are
Verdin.
these? Are these new? The Verdun?
Yeah, Verdin.
Verdun?
Verdin. That's how I've heard it
Resistance
heard
to
it
chaos,
pronounced.
one of the
Verdin,
best way.
and then Vidalkin or
Oh, okay.
Vidalkin. Hmm.
A similar size as a goblin. A sudden growth spurt of 2 feet more. So range from 3 to 4 feet, and then eventually you grow an extra 2 feet, 2 more feet. But you were classed at what? I'm confused. The Verdans start out similar size to the goblins. They were created from goblins, ranging 3 to 4 feet, but at some point after reaching maturity, the Verdant undergo a sudden growth spurt of 2 more feet. Then you go from like 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. That's an awfully tall for still being at first level you're classified as small, and once you reach 5th level you become medium. That makes sense because I
Huh.
didn't finish reading it. Black blood healing, excuse you? The black blood that is a sign of your people's connection to that which endures boosts your natural healing. When you roll a 1 or a 2 on any hit die you spend at the end of a short rest, you can re-roll the die and you must use the new roll. Interesting.
Hmm.
Telepathy, 30-foot
Limited telepathy.
telepathy. Apparently they're very persuasive. Your people's lack of history makes you trustworthy and humble. Proficiency in persuasion. Telepathic insight. You can read, speak, write Goblin, and one additional language of your choice. This language typically has some connection to one of the areas or cultures that you've been a part of, that have
Hmm.
been a part of your life. Interesting.
That one definitely gives me like a whole lot of vibes. Like, see, I can't think of any one class. Best I would think of is Ranger or some sort of spellcaster.
Right?
But I'm like, that feels more like a merchant, you know? Like that feels. I'm just thinking in the way of like a occupation.
Traveling merchant.
Yeah, Verdun just feels like a merchant.
You got a point. It really does with the persuasion proficiency,
Telepathy,
and
capable
their
of
lack of history, the telepathy.
like basically being able to communicate through crowds without having to deal with the loud noises.
And with the telepathic insight, you have advantage on all wisdom and charisma saving throws too.
It's a merchant. At that point, you just got to say, well, how does the merchant protect themselves?
Exactly.
And then you have your class.
Right. Um, I don't see a lot of turtles. I played a turtle a couple of times, or tried to at least. He
Turtle.
was actually slow. I decided to throw out the only 100-year lifespan limit, and it's a giant bipedal tortoise. They're gonna live a lot more than 100 years.
Yeah.
I think so.
Tort.
But
Turtle is not in 5e tools.
um,
That's weird.
it is on D&D Beyond, but it's in the books. Um,
I don't think I
yeah.
have the book with. Oh,
They're adventures at heart, which means yeah, the quote is they have a saying, we wear our homes on our backs, so they
nice.
do nothing but wander and collect history, lore, stories. That way, anything they learn, they pass on to their offspring before they die,
Interesting.
including everything they found, the gear and everything. It's pretty cool.
Wow. That's an interesting way of
They're
life.
They can hold their breath up to 1 hour at a time because they're slightly amphibious.
They
Because I guess
got claws, a
tortoise,
natural armor of way too much.
natural armor. Yep, it gives you a base AC of 17. Your Dex mod doesn't affect it at all. Your armor's just 17. You
But if
gain
you're
no
using a
benefits from wearing
shield,
armor, but if you're using a shield, then you get up to at least 19, 18, 19. Jesus. Um, I like
and
their
then
shell defense.
consider the fact that because you can't wear armor, unarmored defense.
Yes, yes.
Just think about that. Now, imagine a monk, a turtle monk.
Oh, what was my turtle? He was something. I can't remember. I oh God, why can't I remember? What was he?
A
He was something, but he wasn't a monk
a turtle monk, real quick.
with
How
unarmored
what's the speed
defense.
30? Just consider the fact that you
This
can have an actually fast turtle that is untouchable and
I don't know. Go
just
ahead.
they have a natural weapon,
Yep, their claws.
which is their unarmed strike,
Hmm.
which means you can make a whole bunch of attacks with your claws dealing slashing instead of bludgeoning damage. What the
Exactly.
heck? A turtle works perfect for a
Could
monk. A
and the
turtle is a perfect
subclass that I
monk.
would think
And
of as a
who?
monk just to fit the weird slowness of a giant
I know.
tortoise turtle would be drunken master style.
Oh,
Way the drunken
absolutely.
master just to fit the slow weird movements of a tortoise.
Absolutely. Just imagine. And like Drunken Master, are they what did they get for their ability scores? And they do get a plus wisdom to their wisdom. So just consider
Yeah,
a wise old man who's just got a little bit of a drinking problem, but through all the weird babbling he's going on about, he actually has quite a lot of knowledge and wisdom built up, and he's
oh
a very
yeah,
capable
yeah.
warrior, but he just looks a little off. He looks like he's got
I the one thing I have seen, somebody did create a it was all over the place as soon as the turtle was added. Was the oh God, why am I blanking on Kung Fu Panda now?
Oh, Uwe. Master
Oogway, thank you.
Uwe.
Somebody made Master Oogway before, and I thought it was hilarious.
Of course they did. Of course they did.
I mean, it fits.
That is the monk. That is a monk. That is exactly what I was
Absolutely.
describing, minus the drunkenness.
Yes. Yes. You were basically describing Master Oogway. In that case, I think he would probably be way the open palm at that point.
Probably. Consider that. And yeah, he was doing things that
God, now I gotta
that the
create a
monk
turtle monk.
has. That's the ability that he was doing exactly what a monk can do.
Yeah.
Like the stun ability.
Technically he could be Way the Astral Self monk
I think that his subclass would end up changing after he dies. Have you seen Kung Fu
to
Panda
the Way
3?
of the Astral Self. I've seen him, yes.
Yeah, Kung Fu
The
Panda
Way the Astral
3.
Self would fit at the end if it changed.
Yes. Kung Fu Panda 3 would really. That's what would happen there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now
Shifters are weird. I haven't seen any of those either. Anyway,
I actually created a shifter
did
who
you
I
really?
haven't been able to play yet because that was going to be the Curse of Strahd character I was going to play.
Oh.
Her
Which
name
subrace did
was
you use?
what?
Which
Oh.
subrace did you use?
Can I
There's
access
Beast
it? I
Hide,
can.
Longtooth,
It was the
Swift Strider, and Wild Hunt.
Wild Hunt. That was the one. I
Wild Hunt.
believe. I believe.
Yes.
Sharp and insightful. Many are constantly alert. Very Yes, that's the one. I went with Wild Hunt.
Okay.
Her name was. No, now I gotta pull her up. Let me see. Do I still have her on my D&D Beyond, or did I remove her? I did. I'm gonna have to go into my files. D&D characters. What was her name again? Luna Lily Aradel.
Interesting name.
Yeah. So let me pull up the exact name. Or let me pull up her character sheet for this.
Yeah, no problem.
So let's see here.
While you're looking, Simic Hybrid's an interesting one that I don't remember seeing or hearing about.
Let's see, what was it? Where is it? Backstory. Yes, there it is. So did it really cut off some of the backstory?
What?
Oh, it cut
Oh,
off
that
some of the backstory from when I saved the file. Must have been too much text. That's sad.
Damn, that sucks.
Actually, oh no, that might have been a lot of the backstory. Ah, yikes.
Oh no.
That might have been a lot of the backstory because of like. Oh, that was a huge part of the backstory that it cut off. Fortunately, I remember it, but basically,
No.
her name was Luna Lily Aradel, daughter of Sir Razorthorn Aradel and Knight of the Moon. Basically, she was supposed to be a fighter druid subclass. Oh no, she wasn't a shifter. She was an Eladrin.
An Eladrin?
She was an Eladrin elf.
Oh, interesting.
But anyway, basically, she was supposed to be because her father was a knight and her mother was a druid. She was supposed to be like trained in both by her parents, and so she was supposed to be a fighter druid multiclass, and she was supposed to have a child who she did not intend to have, but she had met this man who was traveling, and they got a little comfy. And then she had a child, and the man moved on from the town before the child was born. And so now she's kept this child a secret. Yep, she kept this child a secret from her parents, and she basically left on a journey before the child was born so that she could then find the man. And now she has this child who, what was his name? Here it is. It is written down. Oh, thank goodness. She named him Sigil as, the note that I've got is, I have given my son the name Sigil, for he is the brand which the boy's father has placed upon me.
Oh.
I know. But there's basically there was all of this stuff that I wrote down, and basically she was going to be the character that I played in in Curse of Strahd. She was gonna have a son, which Darren was like, "Oh, you're gonna have a child in the land of Strahd?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know what I'm getting into, but I love this idea so much." But yeah, there was this whole backstory that I wrote out. But originally, I think maybe what ended up happening was I changed her a bunch because talking with Darren, he was like, "Now listen, this is a lot you're getting into. Are you sure you don't want to dumb it down a little because you've barely played much Dungeons and
Mm-hmm.
Dragons?" So I think I changed her race from a shifter to an Eladrin,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Probably.
summarized her class into just a what's the magic casting knight, Eldritch Knight.
Eldritch, yeah.
Yep, I think that's what I ended up doing, Eldritch Knight, or was it just Knight? No, no, Eladrin Bard. Oh, I took Bard. Oh, that makes sense.
An Eloquence Bard?
No, not I
Oh
said
no.
Eladrin.
Oh, Aldrin. Okay, yeah. Hmm.
What is her
English is
subclass?
hard, and so is listening.
Sorry, Brett. Fighting style.
Now you mentioned Bard, and I can't remember. Didn't you play a Bard once in the old Monday campaign?
I did. I played
Yeah,
quite.
that's right.
I played. Well, no, I played the. That was Warren Murnick, the Bard gnome
Ah,
Bard.
yeah, the Bard gnome. That's
Yeah.
right.
I don't know what subclass I chose for this character, which is frustrating. Oh, there it is. College of Swords, which makes sense.
Swords. Okay.
That makes sense
Yeah,
because
that
of
makes
Father's
sense.
Knife. Anyway, that's very. Revisiting that character has only made me want to play that character even more.
Right. With all the original complexities, or not
I'll
so much.
probably rework the character again because I've had a lot of experience since then.
Just,
Um,
everybody's always got at least one character they really want to play that they always tweak over and over. Oh, and some people got that one main character that they have in every
uh
campaign.
huh. Yeah. That's something that I've always wished I had. That I always wish I had. Um,
A main?
a main character because it really sounds like it would be amazing to have one character that I can bring into any campaign and be like, this is the character I've
And
used in previous campaigns, right? And just play
mhm,
with them over and over again. I would love that. I think that would be so
right,
fun.
and I mean, you could add it up into your own little headcanon lore. That's
I
every
know.
adventure they've ever been on throughout their life. So when they retire, settle down with a family, they got stories for the kids.
Yeah, I know, right? And then you can have
Maybe that'll inspire more adventures.
exactly. I would love that.
And then you just continue on once they retired, and you can basically create another character based off of one or the any of the children that they could potentially have in
Yes.
your lore for the character, and continue on the lineage. There are a
Oh,
long line of
sweet.
adventures. My father, my grandfather, his father before him, even my great great grandmother was a great cleric.
Imagine imagine doing that and writing down all of those, you know? And having
Oh,
those
the
stories.
personal lore and story making like that just for a player would be
Oh, it'd be
amazing.
so satisfying.
It would be, oh yes, absolutely.
It'd be
That's
wonderful.
awesome. I think I know what to do with Thordis and
Yes.
Kaldor.
Yes. Let's see here. Yeah. Getting back on track though.
Oh yeah, yeah. I forgot what we were talking about. I just kind of
Huh?
went off on a tangent.
Oh, I mean that's what
But
this is for.
chaotic neutrals.
That's what we're here for, to go off on little tangents and not care.
Exactly like I said in the intro, where we let chaos reign.
Exactly. Warforged.
Anyway, Yeah, Warforged. I remember when the Warforged had three separate subclasses: a tank, a middle ranged one, and one called the ambassador models. They were basically the models. One was the fighter tank. One was kind of like would be your support character style
And the other was a
unit,
rogue or
and the other one
ranger.
was your rogue or ranger.
Which,
And you could
why did
and
they change
and
that? Why did they
I
change
don't
it?
know. I think too many people complained about how broken one of the sub races were
Oh,
for it, and they decided to generalize it into one thing because it used to be amazing.
it's kind of
I
stupid,
was
and
I
I would
made a
like to revisit
samurai.
the old one.
I made one into a samurai. I remember making a full tanky one into a fighter samurai,
Hmm.
but it didn't get very far before I think something happened to the campaign and everybody had to do things.
Oof.
Life got in the way. Unfortunately, 'tis what happens.
R.I.P. But yeah, I feel
Right?
like that Warforged are underutilized properly.
Yeah.
Like when you
Yeah,
really
I
consider
haven't
it,
seen like a good one used.
like I mean, when you really consider it, they're super built for frontlining. Very
Yeah,
obviously built for
it's
frontlining and
literally in
nothing
their
else.
lore.
That's
Yeah,
what
it's
they're
literally in
built
their
for.
lore. They're soldiers.
But like consider the real options, you know? Like
Hmm.
Warforged, yeah, that's built in their in universe lore, but how often are players actually playing in whatever world that, the Warforged are from? Like consider it,
True.
Like I
True.
mean,
True. Not everybody decides to put their creative campaign in like Eberron or
yeah. I mean,
it's all part of the whole grand multiverse.
for me, a Warforged is simply a soul possessed machine.
But I I know you can have your own thing for things, but it's not because they're not really a soul. It was just a machine brought to life through
That's
just
fair.
magic power.
That's fair. But like
But
even still, like consider all the unique
but
abilities.
technically they're still alive. Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you
Technically
know,
they're also still alive. They're not even classified as a construct.
okay, real quick, let's take a look at their integrated protection. Your body has built-in defense layers, which can be enhanced with armor. You gain +1 to your armor class. You can
Hmm.
don only armor, which you have proficiency to don armor other than a shield. You must incorporate it into your body. To doff armor, you must spend 1 hour removing it. While you live,
Basically,
the
what
armor
I gather
incorporated in
from
your
that.
body can't be removed against your will.
You
Interesting.
know, what I get from that is like the armor plated skin that they basically have is like they can remove it and upgrade it with something better if it fits with like upgrading like if you bought new armor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
You could just replace armor pierces pieces and upgrade yourself, bolt new pieces back on, and voila, ready to go back into the fight.
Yeah. But, like, looking through it, it doesn't. I mean, originally, it kind of felt like, yeah, it was built for battle, but, like, I mean, even still, I had the two sub races that really,
Right.
made it useful in other situations, and even
It
now,
was the Juggernaut class.
it doesn't feel like it's actually
It doesn't.
built for
Yeah.
frontlining. Everybody just makes it feel like it should be built for frontlining, and it's like, now
Right.
hold on, no, because like I remember actually, I was playing a Warforged who was
Hmm.
built to look like a gnome.
A what? A gnome?
A gnome. I think that's what I
A
actually did.
gnome-sized warforge?
She was
What?
supposed to be like she was a warforged, I believe,
Uh-huh.
built to basically mimic a gnome so that she could act as a spy. She was a
So kind of
rogue.
like a synth from Fallout 4.
I have no clue.
Oh God.
But basically,
Synths
yeah,
from
she was.
Fallout 4 are constructs built by the Institute to imitate humans and basically replace people. They were perfect identical copies. You'd never tell.
Huh. Interesting.
Anyway.
But yeah, I built her specifically for that, and she had no memory. And she was basically supposed to figure out that, oh, she's a robot, basically. But because she had no memory, she
Hmm.
was like, she wasn't following her programming the same way. You know, she would follow her programming, but it wasn't quite the same. She was, you know, obviously a warforged, but she was doing things in a more, you know, like less. Again, she had lost her memory, so she didn't know quite what she was there for or anything.
Hmm.
And it was gonna be so cool. And then Death by Grungs.
Oh.
Yep,
Oh, the groans.
yep. She was part of that crew. She was part of the TPK by Grungs. But yeah, I had
Yeah.
taken that Warforged and made her into a rogue, and I was like, this is cool. This is interesting. And
I, I found the
original.
old sub races.
Oh,
It was the
so
Envoy, which had ability score increases, two different. It gave you some ability score increases, a specialized design, um, specific to it. As an envoy, you were designed with a certain specialized function in mind. You might be an assassin, a healer, or an entertainer, to name a few possibilities. Envoys are the rarest Warforged subraces, and yours could be a unique design. So
mm,
they were the super specialized one that was broken.
yeah. Hmm.
It's classified as UA now. The Juggernaut was the big heavy
Oh.
hitter. You're an imposing war machine built for close combat and raw might. You tower over your comrades. Juggernaut Warforged stand between 6 and 7 feet tall and weigh up to 450 pounds. You have your unarmed strikes deal 1d4 plus your strength and bludgeoning damage instead of whatever other normal damage it was at the time. Unarmed, it says modifier bludgeoning damage instead of the normal damage. Well, whatever the normal damage is, which I think is just 1d4. You also have powerful build. They were also the most heavily armored. And then you had the skirmisher built as a scout, and you're lean and designed for speed. So that would be the rogue, the ranger, stuff like that.
Hmm.
They were
Interesting.
from the Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron, the UA features.
Interesting.
But yeah, I made a Juggernaut as a samurai, but never got to play it.
Oh my gosh! I just figured out how to change my hit point system in D&D Beyond. Thank goodness.
The
Anyway,
oh god,
but
in the manage a, oh no, it's in the home, isn't it?
I did just figure out or I was just thinking about.
Fixed hit points are manual.
Yeah, I figured out
Yeah,
how to
I'm
do it.
listening.
I
Sorry.
figured out how to do it. But I was thinking about the Warforged, and I was thinking again. Everybody says, "Oh, they're mostly tanky. They're the ones that frontline," and I'm like, okay, but what about a monk?
All right.
Like, what about a monk? Hear me out. You got a plus to your Constitution, plus whatever else
Mhm.
you want. Just
Mhm.
wisdom, you know. You have your constructed
Mhm.
resilience, so you have advantage on poisons and poison damage. So I mean that just
Mhm.
emphasizes the monks already. You don't need to eat, drink, or breathe. That's good
Right.
for every class, hands down. You know,
Right.
only reason
You
I
don't have to
wouldn't
worry
take
about
that.
rations and stuff
Only
on long
reason
expeditions.
I mean, I mean, when you really consider it, like suddenly that one Eldritch invocation for the warlock, don't need that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's free
Nope.
for something else. You are immune to disease. Well, the monk has already got advantage against that, so like,
Right.
throw that out. You know, um, don't need to sleep. And magic can't put you to sleep. Every class, you know, that's
Right.
so good.
Yep.
What centuries last? When you take a long rest, you must spend at least 6 hours in an inactive, motionless state rather
Basically,
than
it's
sleeping. This stays you
the
a state
trance
of being
from
clear.
elves.
Yeah, but it takes 2 hours
But
longer.
you, yeah, but you can still see and hear, and
So it's basically
you
like you can,
an eternal keep watch for the night.
yeah, integrated protection. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So it's like Warforged looks like it's built for so much.
It's
Warforged
the
is
most
definitely,
versatile.
it is so versatile aside from custom lineage
Yeah,
or
yeah.
tiefling,
It's like
because
the
for
second.
Pete's sake, how many different tiefling subraces are there?
Um,
One, two, three, four, five,
12.
6, 7, 8, 9,
10
10, 11,
variants plus
12,
2 base.
13, 14,
14. Damn.
plus
D&D
the
Beyond
base.
only shows
Plus the
12.
base. You've got. Oh well, okay. There's the variant, but it's okay. I see what's going on here. And for variant, it's showing all 4 versions of the variant. So you've got the
I
Devil's Tongue,
mean, the thing
Hellfire,
with...
Infernal Legacy, and Winged. I see.
Yeah, okay. I only get... I see, there's Feral, there's the Tiefling base, there's, variant Feral, there's variant... Then there's a bunch of other ones based off of,
Oh,
I
that's.
think, demons from the lore of D&D.
Oh yeah.
Beelzebub,
Actually, those are some of
Disfader.
these are like more real. You know, these are some of these are from like.
Oh no, a lot of D&D lore I've
Yeah,
found
I know.
out is based off of real.
I don't know
But
which
yeah,
one Asmodeus is, but
Asmodeus
but
is like,
apparently like I mean, I heard the name recently in the game Helltaker. If you've ever played that,
yep,
oh, I love it. It's a fun game. But that one's
Asmodeus in like the real world is in Jewish legend, King of the Demons,
ah,
the Demon King,
and then Beelzebub, of course, or Beelzebub.
Beelzebub. Yep.
Yeah,
And then there was like
Despater, Fioranna,
Mephistopheles,
Hephaestus. Wait, what? Mephistopheles.
Zariel,
Mephistophilus.
Mephistopheles, yeah,
Mystiphus.
Levistus, Glacia,
Mystif. Golly, that one's a hard one to say.
Mephistopheles. That's what it looks like. It says to me, Mephistopheles.
Yep, Mephistopheles. Goodness. Zariel.
Hold on, Mike.
That one's an
Yeah,
easy
Zariel.
one. Oh.
I like.
Oh. Oh my lord. Have you played Undertale?
No, I
Okay.
thought it was overrated at the time. So,
Okay.
but
There's
I've watched a lot of people play it on YouTube.
yeah,
So,
you know what? So you know who Azrael is.
for the most part,
Yeah, okay. Zariel. Azrael.
yeah,
Ah!
yeah. Oh,
Oh no. Oh
no.
no.
Oh, oh. That's no. That's not happy fun times.
No. No.
That's definitely not happy fun times.
No, it's not. Nobody likes that. Oh yeah,
Mm-mm.
Satyr. I was wanting to look at that earlier. So satyrs, they're fae. Your creature type is
They're
fae rather than humanoid. What?
yeah, because they're like have go. If you think of like
Yeah.
if you watch The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe,
Oh
the
yeah, I know about that.
that when they go into the wardrobe for the first time, he's technically a satyr.
Yep, yep, yep. I don't know about that guy. Do they come from the Feywild? Doesn't. No, no, no.
I think they come.
I can't see anything that says the Feywild. I don't know. Ram.
Mm,
Head and horns make unarmed strikes. If you hit with them, you deal bludgeoning damage equal to 1d4 plus your strength. Yeah. Magic resistance?
mhm.
What? You just have magic resistance?
Uh-huh.
Mirthful leaps. What is mirth?
Yeah, mirthful leap. Whenever you make a long jump or high jump, you can roll a d8 and add the number extra in terms of feet you can cover.
Wow. Even when making a standing jump. Interesting.
Yep.
Oh, and it costs movement
So
like
good at
normal.
performance and persuasion. Read rate common Sylvan.
Okay. Interesting. Satyrs, I mean, they're not.
Right?
Satyrs are considered very to be party animals.
Yeah,
Pardon the
yeah.
pun, but like, um, really, the way they're built in D&D, they could be a lot. They could be a
Yeah, they
lot.
really can.
Like, I would imagine
Mhm.
your hooves would probably make it hard to stealth. So you'd probably have to pad your hooves.
Mhm.
But, like, I mean, not gonna lie, a monk with that ram attack, or like
Mhm.
any fighter or any melee class with that ram attack, you just go charging straight in, leading off with that. You know,
Right.
I would honestly, personally, I would actually give that a secondary benefit. If you like, how there's the charge ability, if you go in and like either use like use that after moving 10 feet,
Mhm.
or if you use the dash action, then you could probably also have force the opponents to make a strength save, and if they fail, push them to the side or knock them prone. And if that's the case, I would say you could keep on going until your movement hit speed stops, or you hit something that doesn't move out of your way,
Like a wall.
like a wall, or somebody who succeeds on their save.
That too.
Like in that case,
But the
that.
wall will always succeed on the save.
Yeah, fair. That depends.
I
That
remember. I
depends.
remember. I remember growing up. If you tripped and fell on the wall. I remember being told if you're gonna pick a fight with the wall, remember the wall will always win.
Yeah, that's true. Unless you bring a rocket launcher.
Anyway, but that's not D&D topic.
Yeah, but
What? Wait,
I mean,
rocket launcher?
but yeah, the satyr. I mean, even now, going back to our original topic from earlier, I just homebrewed something for the satyr. That is
Oh,
something that I would like,
yeah.
like you know, that is something that makes D&D interesting and unique, and that's how you make your games unique, by homebrewing such ideas. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, again, class race importance is very seldom. Because
Yeah.
you can make anything interesting and work if you have the right backstory, the right background, and if you're willing to homebrew. Hold on. I'm seeing this race has been staring me in the face this whole time it's been sitting here, and I
Which
gotta
one?
know. Reborn.
Which one? That's the
I
one
think
that
you
I was
mentioned it
telling you
earlier.
about. That I was thinking. One of our players is the lineage's reborn, which
Info.
he is a paladin of redemption, meaning he was brought back to life as
Hmm.
you know
Let's real
this
quickly read through
reborn
this.
thing to redeem himself.
Let's see. Reborn. Death
And
isn't always the end. The reborn exemplify this, being individuals who have died yet somehow still live. Some reborn exhibit the scars of fatal ends, their ashen flesh or bloodless veins, making it clear that they've been touched by death. Other reborn are marvels of magic or science being stitched together from disparate beings or bearing mysterious minds in manufactured bodies. Whatever their origins, reborn know a new life and seek experiences and answers all their own. They have faded
Yeah.
memories, which means reborn suffer from some manner of discontinuity, yeah,
Discontinuity.
an interruption of their lives or physical state that their minds are ill equipped to deal with. Their memories of events before the interruption are often vague or absent. Occasionally, the most unexpected experiences might cause situations or visions of the past to come rushing back. Rather than sleeping, reborn regularly sit and dwell on the past, hoping for some revelation of what came before. Most of the time, these are dark, silent stretches. Occasionally, though, in a moment of peace, stress, or excitement, a reborn gains a glimpse of what came before. When you desire to have such dreamlike vision, roll on the Lost Memories table to inspire its details. Interesting.
Right.
Reborn
And
origins.
I and I sent you the link for the Soulbound, and initially the readings from the beginning, as little lore block.
Is very
It
similar.
reminds me exactly. It's very similar to the Soulbound in terms
Huh.
of being created by magic or a
Interesting.
powerful being.
So, lore-wise, both the Reborn and the Soulbound are very interesting, but let's look at the Reborn abilities real quick. Like the abilities scores, because
Yeah.
now I want to know what class would fit this, because I've never heard of the Reborn before today. So, choose one of either A, choose any +2, and then choose any other for +1, or choose any
Or
+1, choose any other +1, choose any other +1. So basically, you can have a +2 and a +1, or 3 +1s.
hmm
Your size can either be medium or small. Ancestral legacy. If you replace a race with this lineage, you can keep the following elements of that race: any skill proficiencies you gain from it, and any climbing, flying, or swimming speed. If you don't keep any of those elements, or you choose this lineage at a character creation, you gain proficiency in 2 skills of your choice.
Oh, the Astral Legacy.
No, a
Is that what you
ancestral
were reading?
legacy. It's
Oh,
ancestral.
Ancestral.
Yeah.
My bad.
Deathless nature. You have escaped death, a fact presented by the following benefits. You have advantage on saving throws against disease and being poisoned, and you have resistance to poison damage. You have advantage on death saving throws. I was looking for that.
Yep,
I
yep,
was
yep.
looking
There
for
it is.
that. I knew that had to be there. I was like, when I read that first little bit on the deathless nature, I was like, hold on, does that mean advantage on death saves? Yes, it does.
hmm
You don't need to eat, drink,
Also,
or breathe. You don't need to
don't need to
sleep.
sleep.
Magic can't put you to sleep. You can finish a long rest in 4 hours if you spend those hours in an
Yep.
inactive, motionless state during which you retain consciousness. Whoa. So basically, what you're telling me is I can keep watch for 4 hours, and then if those 4 hours are interrupted, that doesn't matter because I have the rest of the
8
night
hour
to
long
regain.
rest.
I have the rest of the night
Yeah.
to regain those 4 hours. Okay.
Yep.
Then when I'm done, I can finish keeping watch. Interesting. Knowledge from a past life. You temporarily remember glimpses of the past, perhaps faded memories from ages ago or a previous life. When you make an ability check that uses a skill, you can roll a d6 immediately after seeing the number on the d20 and add the number on the d6 to the check. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. common in one other language that you and your DM agree on. Probably a language that your character knew if you're going off of the whole replacing lineage thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. I love the idea of these whole replace the character's race with this lineage type thing, you know?
Yeah,
I was
it's
recently
really flexible.
I was recently introduced to the Dampier, and
Oh yeah.
I was like, what the heck? I didn't know any of this was the thing. And now I've been introduced to Reborn, and I'm like, there are two.
I think the Hexblood might I don't know why I can't hear Hex and not think Warlocks.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Hexblood. Yikes. It's another one. Hold on. Let me
Yeah.
see Dampier.
Yeah, there's a
Where's
third one by the way, yeah, Hexblood.
Dampier? VRGR. What is that? Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. Of course. That's where they all originate from.
Yeah.
Alright. But yeah, looking at the Reborn real quick, I mean,
hmm
what doesn't scream all classes? Perfect versatility.
Yeah.
Almost
Yeah,
perfect
especially
versatility.
again, you could I like the idea with the Paladin. I just really do.
Yeah.
You can do the Oath of Redemption or the Oath of Vengeance.
There's
You were brought back by your extreme fury and vengeance against this
uh,
person or something that did you wrong,
there was
and you've been given another chance to set it right, and that's amazing.
there was actually something that I saw on Pinterest at one point. That was this skeleton standing there with a sword, and it says, "I love
hmm
the idea of a character of a D&D character who has not died because they simply said three words: I I'm not done."
Exactly.
I'm like, that is some powerful stuff and a meme, and I love it. So
Exactly. That's amazing.
Hexblood. What is a Hexblood?
I don't know.
Where where wishing fails, ancient magic can offer a heart's desire, at least for a time. Hexbloods are individuals infused with eldritch magic, fey energy, or mysterious witchcraft. Some who enter
Warlock.
into bargains with hags gain their deepest
Warlock.
wishes, but eventually find themselves transformed. These changes evidence a hag's influence. Years. Oh, okay. Um, Along with these marks, hexbloods manifest hag-like traits such as a dark vision. Okay. While many hexbloods gain their lineage after making a deal with a hag, others reveal their nature as they age, particularly if a hag influences them. Okay, it's just, yeah. Interesting. Heir of hags. So basically they're like warlock, but if it was a hag, but if they had a hag
With a
subclass.
hag patron,
Yeah, hag patron.
and subclass, and it's just like, uh, kind of reminds me of. I know it's wild magic in the lore for was it
Sorcerer?
Sips?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Sips for
sips. Yeah, yeah,
the
sips.
curse being the wild magic part,
Mm-hmm.
but I could associate that with the hex blood. And as you go and use more of your magic, that will grow and grow until it consumes you and reveals you
I
as
could
a
see
hex
that.
blood.
I could see that. You are Fey. Interesting. Medium or small. Ancestral legacy. Yep. Dark vision. Eerie
Eerie
token.
token.
As a bonus action, you can harmlessly remove a lock of your hair, one of your nails, or one of your
Wait,
teeth.
Joe, it hurts.
This token is
Oh,
imbued with magic until you finish a long rest. While the token is imbued in this way, you can take these actions: telepathic message or remote viewing. Telepathic message: as an action, you can send a telepathic message to the creature holding carrying the token as long as you are within 10 miles of it. The message can contain up to 25 words. Remote viewing: if you are within 10 miles of the token, you can enter a trance as an action. The trance lasts for 1 minute, but it ends early if you dismiss it. Or or are incapacitated. During the trance, you can see and hear from the token as if you were located where it is. I. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Typical
don't start
trance
doing
symptom.
that.
Nope. I'm just a little I'm just yawning a little. But
Oh, don't.
it is actually
It's,
getting getting a little late.
it's
But
yeah,
I
we've
mean,
been at this for almost 2 hours.
yep. But I mean, I can still go a little longer.
An hour 47. Yep,
Yep.
we're good.
Once you create a token using this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest.
At which point your missing part recrows.
Interesting. Hex magic. Disguise self and hex. Once you cast either of these, using this trait, you can't cast that spell again until you finish the long rest. You can also cast these spells using spell slots you have. Interesting. Intelligence, wisdom, or charisma as your spellcasting ability. For these spells, choose the ability when you gain this lineage. Interesting. Become a hag. Hags are going to take a rich. And okay. Interesting. Interesting. So yeah, that definitely feels warlock-like.
Mm-hmm. I like the little examples of the domains of dread that they're given.
Pardon?
Underneath their origins, you could instead of choosing one of the origins, you can choose ask the DM about choosing being associated with one of the domains of dread. Like the Damnfear is Barovia. In the shadows of Castle Ravenloft, tales flourish of those who love or descend from vampires. You might have such a connection, but dread what would happen if others in your insular community found out. Darkon, then there's Ikath. Hex Bloods have Haslan, Cartacus, Tempest, and Reborn is the Harakir, the Lamordia, and the Mordant.
I might have to actually purchase me a physical copy of Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft and read through it.
The Reborn, the Harakir remind me of the Alakir from Elder Scrolls lore, from Bethesda with Skyrim and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You died and endured the burial rites of this desert realm, yet somehow a soul, yours or another's, has taken refuge in your perfectly preserved remains.
Oh. Okay.
Lamordia is you awoke amid the bizarre experiments of an amoral scientist. They consider you their finest creation, or have a task for you to fulfill.
Hmm.
Mordant, Mordant sounds like, isn't that the Clockwork deity from the Clockwork Soul Sorcerer? Rolls over that plane. Anyway, Mordant, you emerged from the mysterious device known as the apparatus. Your body is a lifeless shell, and your past a mystery. That one would be good to, like, remembering your entire past through the flashbacks and visions of the lost memory stuff.
Yeah. Interesting.
The Hexblood one, Haslan, the bizarre magic of this crumbling domain exposes the populace to supernatural forces, occasionally giving rise to hexbloods.
Hmm.
Cartassus, whimsical witches make their homes in the forest of Cartacus. They eagerly grant the wishes of locals seeking grand fortune for their children. Interesting. Yeah, they're
The Dungeon Master's
yeah,
Guide
these
has Azamar?
is that where the SMR are from, or the Dungeon Master's Guide?
Apparently. And
Because I
then
know
they're also from Volo's Guide to Monsters.
I think those would be like the um because I know the basic stuff has the ASMR in it on D&D Beyond.
So
Um,
yeah, the
but
Azamar
it's the
that
three
we
sub
know,
races.
yeah, the Azamar that we know from D&D Beyond is
It's
in
like the variant.
is the one from Volo's Guide to Monsters,
Oh,
the one with the
yeah, because
Fallen
there's the
Protector and
variant, the
Scourge.
phone.
But
Yeah,
but
yeah.
there's another one from the TMG.
Oh, what is it? Because that doesn't show because it's from the DMG.
It's got a +1 to charisma or to wisdom, plus the +2 to charisma. It has the dark vision. It has the celestial resistance. It doesn't have. It has a celestial legacy. Interesting. Celestial legacy. You know the light cantrip. Lesser at third level, you can cast lesser restoration once with this trait. At level 5, you can do the same with daylight. Charisma is your spellcasting modifier. Does that one? Interesting. So
The what? Oh.
The Azamar has the light bearer. So the Azamar that we know has the light bearer feature, which
Mhm.
means you can cast the light cantrip, but they don't
Mhm.
seem to have any of the other any of the other spells, as far as I can tell, that the original had. So they have various varying traits.
Mhm.
Other traits. That's interesting. Weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
Very weird.
Anyway, at this point, we're just scrolling through all the races and just
Right?
examining them all. I feel like this, but kind of feels like at this point we've exhausted this topic, at least for now.
Yeah. I think we have. I think it's about time anyway.
Yeah, this is already a little longer than the last episode, but that was. It's
Right?
interesting. Looking through, first off, I've learned about a lot of races that I didn't know about. I am definitely gonna have to get what is it? Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft and try out
Yep.
all of those. I'm gonna have to try out all of them. I'm also gonna have
Yeah.
to try them out as a DM at some point. Not saying it's gonna be against any of you. I don't know why any of you would ever have to and ever become a Dampier, a Hexblood, or a Reborn. But
I mean, if one of our characters dies,
I mean,
could be reborn.
Reborn does make sense, especially for like
Especially
A
if like
few.
divine intervention kicked in or something.
yeah, a few of you who are spellcasters focused on a specific deity. Like that could really make a lot of sense.
Not
Or
Keldor though.
being of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
That would be interesting. But yeah, I think we've made our point that you can really make even the weirdest of combinations work with any racing class,
Right.
so long as you're willing to be a little creative. Bend what everybody would consider our rules actually guidelines, but the rules, if you're willing to bend the rules a little, you know, and if you're willing to dip into homebrew, because really homebrew does help to make D&D unique for everybody. Everybody's got their own D&D homebrew.
Right.
But yeah, with that said, we should probably end the stream here.
Yeah. For those who joined, appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll be our next episode will be in 2 weeks. It's every other
Should
Friday.
be 2 weeks. Same time,
Unless something
same
happens.
day, unless something happens like with the last one where we haven't had an episode for 3 weeks. This is like the fourth
it's
week
3 weeks.
because we were sticking to that bi-weekly schedule. But
Yeah. Unfortunately, moving got in the way. So anyway,
new establishment. But yeah,
thanks everybody. We'll see you next time.
yeah. Bye.